Hey everyone, and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex, and today is day number 5 of the Advent calendar. Today, opening the box, you find a big surprise. It's an interview. It's the second interview on the channel, and this one is with Nick Roché, who is the product manager of the Adizero lineup at Adidas. Yes, the Adizero lineup that comprises the Adios Pro 1, 2, the Prime X, the Takumi 8, the Boston 10, the Adios 6, and other shoes for which Nick is responsible. This is a real treat. We have a very big privilege to have Nick on the channel, and I hope you will enjoy this conversation as much as I did. If you do so, don't hesitate to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment to share your thoughts on what Nick shared with us. Enjoy the chat!
Hey Nick, thanks a lot for making the time for this interview. Thanks a lot, in the name of the audience, the viewers of the channel. I think this is a real treat. So that's really cool for having you. Very quickly, can you explain us what is your position, your role at Adidas, and what's your day-to-day sort of activity?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, want to echo what you just said, Alex. Thanks for the opportunity to have me on the channel and for us to have some fun conversations here. So without further ado, my name is Nick Roché. I am the product manager for Adizero running footwear within Adidas Running. So that encapsulates or that holds the road racing shoes that we'll be talking a little bit about today, and then also track and field, and then some of our road training shoes as well. But everything with Adizero in the name, I get the opportunity to handle.
All right. Very quickly, how does one become, the product manager for one of the most exciting lines of running shoes out there? What's your sort of background, maybe for the younger viewers? If they also wish to get that type of job one day, how did you get there?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So my background is through running, which is great. I ran at university in the U.S. at Gonzaga University, and during my studies there in the summers of base training, typical cross country training, I had the opportunity to intern within the industry, helping the team and really just shadowing the team on how track and field products are made in more of a development role, footwear development. And then post university, ran for a little bit, and then got the opportunity through some mutual friends to start on Adidas doing product development for just some of the running shoes based out of the Portland office in the US.
Yeah.
And then got the opportunity recently, the most elevated one, to manage Adizero. And due to COVID, as we're all in the situation, I actually managed it out of Portland, out of my office at home for about a year until finally things softened up and allowed my family and I to move to Germany to be with the rest of the team in person. So it's more or less the timeline of my Adidas career and how I was able to get the opportunity through some luck and through my love for the sport. So
yeah. No, I think that's really great and probably inspiring for people out there also who may be interested in working in the industry. So thanks a lot for explaining that. Before going into the details of the shoes, just a broad question in terms of inspiration. There's not only performance, it's a big part of your line, but there's also the look of the shoes, the style, the design, the colorways. Where do you get your inspiration from? Recently I was looking at something about cars, a different industry, but there was a lot about a guy talking how he gets inspiration from birds, from planes to draw the designs of the cars. So where do you get your inspiration, your team? How does it work? Is it solely from the athletes, or do you have some different inputs?
All right, so replaying the question in my head, but the overall, touching on some of the, I would say the easier of the sub questions that you had there. So I myself work within product marketing, product management within and manage the Adizero line, but within the overall project team and what we call, the triad. I have a footwear designer or design team that is led by Falk Bruins, who is an incredible footwear designer, has designed a lot of the most recent Adizero stuff, and now is heading up a team that is making some epic stuff that will, people will be able to see in due time. And then when you reference colorways, I have a color materials counterpart that I've had two, Marion Whiplets and Harrison Reddy, that have done the last couple drops of the Adizero stuff. So I will not and cannot take credit for the aesthetic of the shoes or as granular as colorways. They've done it. They've done an incredible job. The feedback's been great.
Definitely. Yeah.
If we look at the overall inspiration, as you talk about the aesthetic, I will say that Adizero was born through racing as a franchise. And sure, some of the products look different than maybe an original Takumi Sen 1 or even a Adios or an old Boston. However, the purpose and the intent of the product has stayed true. So the inspiration has stayed the same, but it's more so if we're going to build it in 2021, 22, 23, so on, how would we build the best version of a Boston for that year or whatnot? So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Okay. No, I mean, I get it's a very complex work process and many people involved. So of course you cannot take the credit, but quite interesting, I think, also to understand how it works and how the different parts assemble into the final product. Before going into the Takumi Sen, if you had to, we're talking about colorways, if you had to pick one colorway of the Adios Pro 2, the one that's actually released, your favorite, like one or two, let's say, but which one would you keep if you had to, frame it and show it to your children?
Oh, geez. People always use this analogy, but I believe it is really true. It's like asking a parent to pick their favorite kid. But in for this situation, if I had to, everything depended on it. It's two. I can't pick one.
Yeah,
Alex.
two is fine.
It's a toss up between the Berlin Marathon one, which was totally different than anything we had done. A carbon black upper, where we traditionally wouldn't use a dark upper because that doesn't always denote fast, but that was such a good looking shoe and a colorway. And then the other one, honestly, Alex, would be the launch, the Tokyo Olympics one, white base, black stripes, red heel. It was an iconic Adizero, an iconic Adidas running, an Adidas color that we hadn't seen in a while, and it was simple. It wasn't overthought, and I thought it was quite nice.
I don't know if you can see, but it's right here.
Yeah.
Actually, it's actually, I think, one of my two favorites. And the most recent one, the blue and pink, is also looking really great. So, which is a nice segue because the blue and pink is also one of the launch colorways for the Takumi Sen 8. Can you quickly explain the audience how you completely reinvented the Takumi Sen line, switching from the 7 to the 8? Well, not completely reinvented, but really, changed it and updated it. What was the rationale, the thought process going into that? Maybe to so that the audience can also understand how now the Takumi Sen looks like it does.
Sure. So I believe the best way to approach this, Alex, is to think of what has launched in June of this year with the Adios Pro 2, the Prime X, the Boston 10, the Adios 6, and how much of a big step change and revolution instead of an evolution happened within the range there. And it was almost natural that the Takumi Sen was going to follow suit with that. So yeah, I mean, big elephant in the room or on the image is that yes, it is aesthetically a very different shoe than what has existed within the Takumi Sen line. But when you start to break it down, upper, midsole, stiffening elements, outsole, it really isn't too different to what I was talking about earlier, Alex, around we are confident. Athletes have tested it basically for a year now. Run Skip Burrito has been testing it. Was one of our main testers for the shoe, and it was just how could we, without looking at anything that's ever been made in the Takumi Sen line, how would we make the best Takumi Sen with the ingredients, the innovations, the foams, the outsoles, the uppers that we have now, which is where we netted out. But we did start at the Adios Pro 2, and how would we build that for the 5K and the 10K, knowing that athletes to date have only been wearing, the Adios Pro 2 outside of events and Hertz and whatnot. But we wanted to really make an offer for that 5K, 10K, and then onto the track, specialized for that. And yeah, that was the intent. We're super excited. I'm super excited with where we've landed. Obviously, athletes already have run quite speedy in the offer. So I really can't wait for people to try it out.
Yeah. It looks like it takes some of the elements from the Adios Pro 2 without any doubt. We have the energy roads, we have the Lightstrike Pro midsole, but some new stuff also on the Takumi Sen 8, like that lateral little cutouts. Can you tell us what happened there? Was it like the medial cutout on the Adios Pro 2? You decided to try it also somewhere else? Does it have an impact on the performance on the ride of the shoe, or it's only some weight savings? How did you get that idea?
One of them, not the main, but one of them was to aesthetically draw the eye to the forefoot of the shoe. Being 5K, 10K, most runners will transition, if they aren't already, into more of a midfoot, forefoot striker through faster stuff. Sometimes, yeah, sure, a lot of athletes will still heel strike, but over short distances, people can tend to kind of carry a midfoot, forefoot strike through to that. So we wanted to denote and call that out as a more faster shoe of the line through that cutout. The other one is honestly weight savings, Alex. We knew that we had to be competitive. We had a steep target for what we wanted to make on a weight level. And upon looking at all the testing shoes that we've done with the athletes, checking out the wear patterns, looking at force plate analysis with our athletes of all sizes, all distances, all weights, everything, we kind of came to this conclusion that we don't need that 100%.
Yeah.
Sure, some people will say that they roll off, but the majority of consumers and runners really won't notice a difference from running in it.
Okay. Does it mean that technically we could see this addition or subtraction, depending how you see it, on further releases? Adios Pro 3, Prime X2, whatever you are cooking, but is it something that we may see again?
I'm not going to answer that, Alex.
Yeah.
But what I will say is we will continue to build the best product for the job. So if we find that we can have a weight savings in an area on a shoe that doesn't negatively impact the performance, I don't see why we wouldn't take that opportunity.
Okay. Always fascinating to see how innovation can happen on a product and then be translated to others, or just be stopped. And I think the audience will be looking forward to seeing whether that continues or not. Maybe we can also discuss a bit the Prime X very quickly. It was, or it still is, a controversial shoe or a very discussed, debated shoe because of the very high stack height, and also because of the different rules with which it does not comply at the moment, at least. What was the market that you targeted when you released the shoe? Was it an idea that you wanted to test? Was it something also to sort of put pressure on the regulatory bodies? How did you what was the process of releasing this shoe, and how do you see it evolving with time? Of course, with everything you can and cannot say.
I will say that we did not make the shoe. At no point in the creation, from the concept brief to market to anywhere in the current editions of it, we've never thought of releasing the shoe to put pressure on any governing bodies, for sure. The intent of the shoe has always been and will remain, or the backbone of the shoe is more of a what if rules didn't exist on an athlete level? What if we could give you the absolute best offer that we could, as crazy as it is? What if we made it 50 millimeters, obviously higher in larger sizes? What if we had a full continental outsole? So it really was just this North Star of what if and innovation within the range. And upon that, the goal was to basically empower and enable everyone but elite athletes that get their shoes checked to have this what if moment. Maybe they don't think that they could run a marathon, finish a marathon.
Yeah.
I'm quite confident that the Prime X would enable that with an athlete of any caliber. What if someone had never broken 3 hours? What if someone had never qualified for the Boston Marathon? Things like this, these questions, these internal questions, we wanted to resolve almost for the consumer through this crazy, totally bizarre, awesome offer here within the Prime X. And then we also saw that honestly was rather unintentional, or wasn't the driver, Alex. We knew it was going to happen, but our elite athletes, especially our marathoners, are obsessed with the shoe. They love training in it. They do their massive long runs on dirt roads in it. They say that they never would have been able to do that in another shoe. So athletes are just feeling such a reduction in fatigue the next day. It's the new foams in the industry, stiffening elements, but the Prime X really takes that to the next level.
Did you actually test the shoe? Because you said it was sort of the best, that idea of creating the best shoe for non-elite athletes. Did you actually test the shoe from a performance physiological perspective on elite athletes during the testing process? And did you see some gains other than fatigue reduction? Like VO2 max type of metrics, lactates, whatever you test when you test developed shoes. Did you also test that shoes against others, or against whatever Adios Pro 2 or test shoes that you have? Is that something that you did, and did you see some crazy metrics there?
Yes, we have tested it, but I cannot talk about it.
Yeah.
To be honest, okay. At this point in time, Alex, I am not able to give those answers. So I apologize.
No need to apologize. That's totally fair. I think there's a big sort of people are a bit fascinated. There's some phantasm going on around the stack height and the carbon shoes, and whether it only helps reduce the fatigue or whether the performance is also increased. And it's interesting, I think, to know whether brands are looking into it or not. So I get it's a hard thing to answer for you. Before wrapping up, all the shoes on the in the Adizero line, they have one thing in common pretty much now for all of them. This is the Lightstrike Pro foam. Can you tell us more on what actually this foam is? And same here. I think there's a lot of mystery or maybe not mystery, but unresolved questions for shoe geeks out there. Without going into maybe the details of the compound and how it is made, how would you compare it against other foams on the market or other Adidas foams? And is it something that you will be working with for a long time in the future, or are you already looking at different innovative ways of replacing Lightstrike Pro and other foams?
That is a massive question, and I love it. It is something that I believe we are the only ones that are using this Lightstrike Pro, and you can tell when people step in the shoe. They, I've seen your reviews. I've seen a bunch of reviews on YouTube. I'm very much in the weeds as far as the reviews, and people do feel a different sensation in Lightstrike Pro versus other shoes. And what we really wanted to do was, as you know, or as maybe the viewers know, forever we had Boost. It still exists in Adidas Running, still exists within the brand. But we hit a point where we felt like we couldn't make the best possible at the first shoe to have Lightstrike Pro, the Adios Pro 1. We didn't feel like we could have the best version of that with Boost. So we went back to the drawing board and looked at what was great about Boost, what we love about Boost, and how we could what we would do to bring it to the next level and use it in these and use it in these Adizero lightweight running shoes. And that's where I feel like we've netted out. To one of your questions about will we continue to use it, at this point, yes. However, we are constantly evolving, as you see, Adios Pro 1, now Adios Pro 2, Takumi Sen 8, Prime X. Like, we are really at chapter 1, chapter 2 of this kind of rewriting the book of Adizero and what we can offer athletes and consumers, people like us that are shoe geeks, and we are constantly evolving, which is awesome. So I can't say what we're doing in 2 years from now, because we still are evolving and constantly changing what we can do to make the best possible shoe and shoes for the athlete.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, fair enough. I guess you cannot reveal anything from the big projects in the future, but it's very interesting also to hear from you that you indeed had the idea of reinventing Boost, and you came up with Lightstrike Pro as one of the ideas. Quite interesting. Can you maybe give us a hint of what we can expect from Adizero? Without naming products, without going into details, but let's say, how do you see Adizero next year, in 5 years, in 10 years? What would you like to see? How would you like to people to speak about Adizero? That sort of stuff.
I don't really know what I'm having for dinner tonight, Alex. It's afternoon for those listening and watching. It's afternoon in Central Europe. So I can't say I certainly can't say what's going to be made in 10 years time. However, without going into details, the overarching theme or the expectation that consumers can have from us in the team is that the foot is on the pedal, and we're going full steam ahead, and we're not stopping anytime soon. We're going to keep making products. We're going to keep listening to athletes and consumers on how we can improve. And the second we believe we have a version in the pipeline that is an improvement, it will be there on athletes and on consumers. We are moving fast, and we are doing everything possible to enable athletes of all calibers to unlock this next personal best, which is a big thing for us in the team, is how can we keep our athletes on the forefoot, keep our consumers on the forefoot in a positive way, so they're never thinking like, I'm a little bit bored of Adizero, like seen that before. We're going to constantly keep bringing stuff to excite and bring great energy to the market.
No, that's great. All right, Nick. I mean, that was fantastic. I won't be taking more of your time, and I think this is already very valuable for the audience. Thanks a lot, Nick. I think this is also something I'm really grateful for here, because you really took the time for us, and not only representing the brand, but I mean, I think you're also a true shoe geek, and you love to speak about all those things. So really, many thanks in the name of the audience as well. I hope you guys out there enjoyed this chat, and we'll be seeing you in another video very soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.